Good morning. So I've been praying and I've just quite literally just been on edge all day today. And I know there's a message I'm supposed to get out. And I said, and this message is 100% this. You cannot be your child's Holy Spirit. You cannot force your children to love God the way you love God. They have to have their own personal encounters. They have to have their own personal ways of meeting Jesus, just like you did. So I think sometimes as us Christian parents, we're like, yes, I got baptized at a young age. Yes, I get this. And then they start going off the rails, going off the deep end. So understand that's what it is. So if we had to encounter Christ on our own, they're going to have to encounter Christ on their own also. So when your kid is going through those times, okay, I've had a couple of different examples. I have some 18-year-olds, I have two, and I've got some other kiddos that are just kind of still fighting to find where do they land with God. And these kids are going to take a road all their own. Their struggles are going to be different than your struggles. There's going to be things in their life that just automatically changes things. But what I want to do is encourage you as parents, when those aha moments of God come up and they get it, or they get a piece of it, when they start sliding back down, remind them of those aha moments that they had with God. And because we all need those reminders, like, oh man, God, when you did this and this, I know you were faithful here, so I know you're going to be faithful here. And that's just like what I want you guys to think about when you're parenting. Parenting Christian children is a fairly difficult thing to do. We always want to point them back to the gospel. Always point them back to the gospel. So like when they've done something wrong, make sure you're not parenting out of selfishness, but you're parenting to disciple them, to point them right back to God. That's where we want them to be. We want them to be in the fold of God. We want them to want them to know and love God. But when they walk through these hard times, okay, and believe me, my kids have walked through some hard times. I've had to walk with them. And my thing is, I've never allowed the state, the government, anything to get involved. And believe me, we've been there with a lot of issues. I never threatened them with the cops. I never threatened them with anything else. I wanted them to know that they were loved, unconditionally loved, because the love that I show them is the same love that I would hope that they're going to. The same love I hope I can give them is the same love that they are going to experience through Christ. And that's what I want them to do. I want them to experience the hope, the love, the joy that Christ gives for us. And if I can just model a very small part of that and help them understand it. So the thing is, when your kids are going wayward, I know it's hard and it's a very difficult thing for them to say, I'm not going to church. I don't believe in this stuff anymore. Believe me, been there, done that. Got the t-shirts, the ball cap, everything for it. But when you have children, when we dedicate our children, that's part of the dedication, that we hand these children back to God and say, God, help me raise them. But what I want you to understand, you need to daily hand your children back to God. They are not yours. They are a gift from Him for you to be an ambassador to them, but they are not for you to be their Holy Spirit. That is it. We can be ambassadors of Christ. We point them back to Jesus. We point them back to the cross. That is what we do. But God will ultimately work on their heart. So if you're parenting and you're struggling with, I don't care if it's a 2-year-old, if it's a newborn, or if you have, teenagers in the house, if you have adult children, always be praying for them. No, you cannot change their heart. No, you cannot do anything about that. But what you can do is pray over them, and you can always point them back to the gospel. Always. Because the day I knew my oldest son started getting what God was trying to do in his life was the day he looked at me and said, don't come tell me that Jesus, saved me, how Jesus, sacrificed himself. Like, he kind of laid out the whole entire gospel in front of me. And I was like, and now you got it, dude. He preached the gospel back at me because he did not want to hear the gospel again. And that is when I know that was years of prayer and repeating it and repeating it and repeating it back to Him. So if you want to know what I said or how I say things or how I talk about things to my children by preaching the gospel back to them, but also when I'm preaching the gospel to them, it is very selfish because I need to hear it just as much as those children in my household need to hear it too. So think of that. You guys have a wonderful